after months of a total blockade of Gaza by the Israeli government and increasingly dire, exasperated warnings of starvation from humanitarian groups and aid groups, the Trump administration, in partnership, I think, with the Israeli government, has come up with this new way of delivering aid into Gaza just in the last, say, 6 weeks. So rather than Israel just lifting the blockade and letting groups like the UN and other NGOs that have delivered aid in Gaza for years, what's happened is the Trump administration backed this new private organization. It calls itself the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation to administer help. So it's a third-party group. Its funding is unclear, and it hires private military contractors. So far, I have to say, as you're watching the scenes, it has been one of the most obscene and depraved undertakings that I have ever seen. According to many reports, report after report after report, seeking aid in Gaza, some of the most desperate people on the planet right now, has become a deadly exercise, both under the IDF and the GHF. Here's a headline from May 28th, just days after the GFA started getting running, opening its aid sites. Quote, 1 killed, 48 wounded when crowd was fired upon at chaotic Gaza aid site, health officials say. June 24th, quote, Gaza health authorities say Israel kills 44 waiting for aid. Just yesterday, quote, 94 Palestinians killed in Gaza, including 45 people waiting for aid, authorities say. That's just 3 of them. I could keep reading them, but I won't. In total, the UN says more than 600 Palestinians have been killed seeking aid, meaning they line up and they're trying to desperately get food and they get shot at. The overwhelming majority of whom were killed at GHF-run sites. This does not seem to be an effective means of distributing aid. In the past 2 weeks, reporters at Haaretz, the Associated Press, and the BBC have all published investigative pieces on these killings, citing internal whistleblowers who say that both Israeli soldiers and private American GFH contractors have been firing into crowds of hungry Palestinians with live ammunition who had posed no threat. The GHF has now says it has launched an internal investigation. It calls the reporting about its contractors, quote, categorically false. Specifically, GHF says the sound of gunfire at an aid line that can be heard in this video obtained by the AP was actually from the IDF and occurred outside the vicinity. Now, the organization offered no evidence to support that conclusion, but that's what they say. Meanwhile, the Israeli government called the reporting about the IDF soldiers firing into crowds, quote, blood libels. Hani Al-Madoun is the director of philanthropy at the UN Relief and Works Agency, USA. He's also the co-founder of the Gaza Soup Kitchen, which is operated by his family members in Gaza, and he joins me now. Hani, first, because you have expertise in this, I want to just start with the question of, if Israel were to largely lift the blockade and allow, say, food and water and medicine and things to flow in, what would be the kind of normal way? Like, how would an NGO such as yours or others distribute that aid, and have there been problems doing that before?
Great, Chris. Thank you for having me. Obviously, I support the work of you at our WA, and it's an organization that's the largest humanitarian actor inside Gaza, the backbone of the humanitarian response. In a perfect world, there is 1,000 aid trucks for UNRWA waiting outside the borders. The Israelis have yet to allow those. Let's assume that these trucks are allowed in at a 500 or 600 truck capacity. Now, these go to the warehouses, and UNRWA staff process them and then start texting families in Gaza, hey, come pick up your food parcel between 4 and 5, come up, pick up your food parcel from this. And this works because UNRWA has 400 distribution sites. These sinister plan with the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation have only 4 sites. And guess what? UNRWA staff don't carry guns. They do not harm any Palestinians. In fact, since October 2023, 15 million patient visits. UNRWA delivered healthcare in Gaza for 15 million people. 0 people have been harmed in this process. The Gaza Humanitarian Foundation has been in existence for about 2 months, and they've been responsible for killing more than 600 Palestinians. These are not just statistics. You know, we have family and friends in California whose siblings have been killed at those sites. This is not somewhere, we're not removed from this. This is the case where Israeli soldiers, some of them are dual citizens, and American, let's just say, mercenaries who are hired with big pay and brought into Gaza to shoot people who are being starved. This is not the way to do it. And did I mention these guys are expensive? Did I mention that more than 55% of their budget, they're spending it in armored vehicles? Guess who doesn't have armored vehicles? UNRWA does not. Any UN agency. Even outside the UN, there's many great American NGOs that work in Gaza. They have distanced themselves from this charade, this PR campaign that murders and hurt Palestinians. Every morning I open my eyes, I read 11 Palestinians, 15 Palestinians killed in Rafah at the 8 sites. And that's not counting the other folks that are being, according to many experts, genocided in Gaza.
I just want to be clear here that the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, to what they say is that it's not true what's been said about their private contractors, and that they're there for the benefit, right? I've looked at an interview with the individuals running it, that they're there for the benefit of people there. Again, I want to just restate what their line on this is, what they say they're doing. But to the point you made before, it just seems like it just seems it seems like they're solving a problem that shouldn't exist, in the sense of the sort of chaos and pressure would go away if you just went back to some aid distribution like they had, say, during the ceasefire, right? I mean, like, it's not like this is not something that the groups there couldn't do if they were allowed to, I guess is my question.
They have the capacity to do it. Organizations like the Organization of Support, learn more at unrwausa.org. But really, Chris, the issue that they're using food as a weapon. They want to create as much pain possible in Gaza, because if a Palestinian receives their food aid from a UN agency or any other agency, they're not going to feel disrupted to their lives as much. So this is the idea, is to use it as a pressure point, a negotiation tactic. You understand, I'm looking at these conditions, and the first thing the Israelis usually offer, hey, we're going to allow aid in. And this is sad, because families like mine are being starved and denied food. They're trying to find food. You couldn't go. You have to travel to the south and then risk losing your life. And this is not sustainable. This is expensive, and this is immoral. My family, through the Gaza Soup Kitchen, serves soup every day to about soup and water for about 30,000 Palestinians every morning. A family operation. 0 Palestinians have been harmed. Why? Because people trust us, and we deal with desperate people. We do not shoot at people. We're among the community. We're from this community. And that's why organizations with the UN cluster should be allowed to bring in aid. This is an Israeli pressure point to create more pain in Gaza. And unfortunately, their talking points are being recycled in American media as it's a fact. But we know there is a lot of cover-ups that we're learning about from the Israeli press themselves, where they're interviewing contractors who say that they have seen their colleagues shoot at unarmed Palestinians.
That has been some of the reporting in Haaretz, among others. There is news today, Hamas saying is ready to negotiate a truce proposal. We'll see where that goes. To the point you're making about, aid relief as one of the sort of negotiating principles here. If there were a truce proposal, presumably that aid would flow in, and I think we would, I imagine, see the end of this experiment, as it were. Hani El Madoun, thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you for having me, Chris.